Hello, this video will be on England and her language, English. England, the native land of the English language. The word England itself means the land of the ankles. The ankles, they belong to it's one of the three tribes, the Anglo-Saxons and the Jutes, the Anglo-Saxons as they are known. The Angles is one of the prominent tribes among them. So the land of the Angles, Angle land, from that word we have England. And the word English means the language of the Angles. English language, of course, the Angles must have been using that even before coming to England. It sprouted in England and it developed in England, and there were many influences. When the language of the Angles came to this land, the British Isles, obviously it was influenced by the earlier people groups there, like the Celts, the Romans. And also, English, as we know now, had later influences, especially from the Normans. In the development of the English language, we can identify three milestones. We'll have to look at the chronological period and understand what the social situation is, and then we'll go to see something about the language period. 450 is the time of the Anglo-Saxon conquest. So from 450 onwards, you call it the Anglo-Saxon period. And the English of that period is known as Old English. And 1066 is the time of the Norman conquest. We call it the Norman or the medieval period. And there we have the Middle English period. And 15th century onwards, of course, there is no conquest or any particular incident to mark this. We had the Renaissance and the later periods, and the language of the time is modern English. Now let's see about the Old English period. The Old English period starts with the Anglo-Saxons. They have their own language, the Anglo-Saxon language, which we consider the ancestor of the modern English. Two features of the Anglo-Saxon language. One is that it is inflectional. It means there is a change inside the word causing a change in the meaning or a grammatical situation. We can say that Malayalam is an inflectional language. We say Manushyam, that is a noun. Man is the meaning. When we want to say to the man, we say Manushyanod. In the man, we say Manushyanil. So, to the man, in the man, both the phrases have got three words. But when it comes to Malayalam, it is just one word. Manushyanod. We don't have a split in that word. Manushyanil. So that feature, a flexion, a flexibility inside the word or within the word. English as we know now is not flexional, so inflectional. But the Anglo-Saxon English or the Old English was inflectional. Then it followed the grammatical gender. You may be familiar with the grammatical gender situation in Hindi. A word by itself can be masculine or feminine, considered male or female. It must be interesting to note that Old English had these features of inflection and grammatical genders. Here is a sample of the Anglo-Saxon prayer, the Christian prayer, Our Father, how that was in one of the Anglo-Saxon dialects. You can understand even the script is not easy for us, or we can't read that Anglo-Saxon script. One influence upon the Anglo-Saxon or the Old English language is the advent of Christianity in the 6th century AD. Of course, there was Christianity in England even before that, even from the Roman times. But in the 6th century, there was a resurgence of Christianity in a very systematic way, which brought in many modifications and changes in the Anglo-Saxon brand of English. And it was in the Old English period itself that we had the Danish conquests, the 9th and the 10th centuries AD, with some slight influence upon the language. With that, we come to the Middle English period. Starting in 1066, William the Conqueror, the Battle of Hastings, and the Norman attack, the Norman conquest of England. Before that, it was the Anglo-Saxons, and that period we call it the Old English period. Now we have the Middle English period. And then in the 15th century, we have a European movement called the Renaissance, which brought in quite a few changes, impacts upon the language. We'll see some details about that. And at that point, from the Renaissance period, we call it modern English. In order to understand what happened in these three literary periods, Old English, Middle English, and Modern English, we need to go through the historical, social, and the literary milestones of England. First, let us take the Old English period. Wherever possible, I have tried to divide this into three. What is the significance in the socio-political arena? What are the linguistic features and what are the literary features? In 450 AD, we have the Anglo-Saxon conquest, when linguistically there was an inflectional language which followed the grammatical gender. And there were some poets, there were some prose writers like King Alfred, Venerable Bede, and Elfric, the successor of King Alfred. And we also have poetry like Beowulf, Wits, Genesis, Christ and Satan. The first known poet, Cadman, and Cynewulf, these are the poets. So this happens in the Old English period. We are through. Then there is the resurgence of Christianity in England, 597 AD, which again happens in the Anglo-Saxon period. So Christianity followed the Latin language as its language of the church and the Bible. So many words in Latin came into England. You may be surprised to see that all these words have a Latin origin. And then the Danish invasion in the late 8th century. There was the Anglo-Saxon reconquest. We don't have many features to observe over there. We come to the Middle English period from 1066, the Norman conquest, William the Conqueror. We call it the Middle English period linguistically, and on the social frame we call it the medieval England. This is the period of making of the English language. Now, Anglo-Saxon or Old English as we call it now was the language of governance, a language which had a grammatical gender, which had inflections. But when the Normans came to power, naturally they banished Anglo-Saxon from the higher circles. And the official language was Norman French, the language of the conquerors. So now Anglo-Saxon becomes the language of the common man. And the common tongue is prone to adapt the language, change it according to what is convenient. So the language lost the precision of its inflections, its grammatical gender forms and all. It lost many of its rules. It became exactly the common man's language. But now English is not the language of the land. It is Norman French. English is there, an earlier version, Old English, which has now undergone some modifications. And naturally, with the French influence, many French words were adopted into English. Later in the 14th and 15th century, there was the revival of the English language. Because by this time, we have the Norman kings, but as years go by, they get adapted to the situations of England. And fortunately or unfortunately, they lost much of their power across the channel, what they had in France. So they become more and more English. And the new kings who come to power find it convenient to have English as the official language. So English replaces French as the official language. And at this time, we have the poets Lamont, Chaucer, Langland, Gower, and the prose writers like Wycliffe, who brought in the first English Bible, and Malory with his Mater Dei. From there, we take a leap to the modern English period, the 15th century, a transition from Middle English to modern English. Of course, there is no particular historical milestone here to mark this change, but there were many influences from outside, birth of the modern age in Europe, inventions, discoveries, Renaissance and Reformation. And in England, it comes with the Tudor kings. The first Tudor king, Henry VII. And there is a change in religion. England leans to Protestantism at the time of Henry VIII. At this time, we have the rise of the universities, Cambridge and Oxford. And one dialect, the East Midland dialect, rises to prominence. This becomes the ancestor of the modern English language. The reason the universities, and it is used in London and used by the scholars